A while ago, I had done a video on why using too many storage containers was a bad thing. But sometimes the right container can really make a difference in your organizing. So today, we're going to talk about how to select the right container for your organizing project. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to the Crafty Organizer. I'm Noreen Burke and I love bringing you ideas on ways to organize, declutter, do DIYs, upcycles, and anything crafty. Organizing containers are one of those things that I love and I hate. I love them because when properly used, it will really make your space so much more efficient, easy to organize, easy to find things. But oftentimes we get lured into, oh, look at this great container, and we buy it and we bring it home, and then we go looking for the right thing to put into it. So before you get excited about the containers that I'm showing you today, one of the things that I always suggest is know what you need your containers to do. So have an idea of what your categories are, what you need them to contain. Break down your things likes with likes so that you know what size and quantity you need. There is nothing worse than going to the Container Store or Target or Walmart and just buying a bunch of blank containers, not knowing what you're going to need, and then coming home and looking at your space going, okay, which thing do I put in what? How do I know where to put things? So I always recommend breaking down your categories first so that you know how many and what size container that you need. I'm going to start in the garage with one of the containers, not on a negative note, but one of the containers I like the least. And that's these giant 27-gallon black containers with the yellow lids. You've seen these at Home Depot and at Lowe's and at Walmart. I very much dislike these for a couple of reasons. Even if you're just putting clothing in them, they are 30 inches wide. So by the time you fill that with fabric or anything even heavier, you can't lift it. It becomes a two-person project just to hoist that giant container up now. So for that reason alone, I do not recommend using them unless you are using them for a decor piece that is large and you simply don't have any other way to store it and you want it in a uniform container. I suggest avoiding these because I have been on countless organizing jobs and we have pulled them down, sorted through because my owners did not know what was in the boxes. They were too heavy for them to manage on their own, and we ended up reorganizing everything into these bins. These are the 56 quart. There are several brands. I usually like the Sterilite. I like the way they snap on. I like the way the lids are durable enough that they don't cave. Now, obviously, if you have 100 pounds in them, the lid will fail because of the weight on it. But I think for the most part, they are wonderful. You can choose the Sterilites that have the clasp on top if you want to make sure they don't open, or just the regular snap-ons. But the 56 quart is a wonderful, wonderful size. You can fit a ton of things in there. They're a good size, but they're super manageable for one person. And because of that manageable size, it's hard to overload them so they don't get too heavy to manage. These bins also happen to work amazingly well for those storage racks that I'm always suggesting. These also work great in garage rafters, in closets, so there's a lot of versatility. These would be used for things that you use less often just because of the size. So in the garage, I have all of my holiday decor items, toys that I'm saving for my kids, some memorabilia, all in these 56 quart size containers, and they work great. For things that I need to get access to more often, like craft supplies, overflow clothing, even things in my kitchen, I opt for the 16 quart container. These are great because once again, they're large enough size that if you wanted to store papers, it's big enough to handle the paper size. If you wanted to use this for clothing, crafting items, it's a good size, but it fits on most standard size shelves, whether you're using bookshelves or whether you've got regular cabinets that you're using like linen cabinets, bathroom cabinets. This is a great size for things that you're accessing on a more regular basis, but this is a great size box to break down those categories, not take up a lot of space, and have easy access to them. Now, open style containers are a huge favorite of mine. They are wonderful in bathrooms, kitchens, craft items, and if you're not the type of person that wants to remove a box to lift off a lid to get access to them, then bins are the best way to go. IKEA has an amazing dupe of the Container Store that I absolutely love, but a similar size and definitely more affordable option are the locker bins from the Dollar Tree. Now beware, if you are doing this in the kitchen and you have a lot of tall jars, bottles, they do have a graduated bottom. So the bottom is smaller than the top, which means if you are putting things in that are upright, you're going to have this extra space up here and it's going to be more narrow at the bottom. So for these types of specific things like your vinegars, your oils, I do recommend getting a more sturdy container that is square. Whether it be plastic, rubber, or even a cardboard box, you'll want something that is definitely square. But aside from those jars, bottles, things like that, the graduated bottom really doesn't make that big of a difference for storage. It really only changes about an inch in total distance from the top to the bottom, and it's mostly so that they can ship more. So here's an example of a pantry I did with all open bins, and this allowed me to get all of the small things like snacks and nuts and grains that weren't plentiful enough to put in larger containers on the shelves for easy access. You'll also notice down at the bottom, I have a few larger containers. This particular homeowner was an avid baker, but they wanted to make sure that when they went into their baking supplies, everything was clean, bug-free, moisture-free. So by putting them in baggies and then keeping them all together, when she wanted to make a pie, all of her pie baking supplies were together. When she wanted to do cookies, all of those things were together, including the cookie cutters. So having an idea of how you want to access your supplies and knowing the size first makes this type of organizing a breeze. Here's another example in a closet where we've got supplies in the 16-quart containers with the lid. These are for lesser used items, and then the locker bins for those things more frequently used. Getting to just pull out a single bin that is clearly labeled for all of those easy access things means you're never searching behind, knocking things over, or losing them in a back of a shelf. So when I would go to jobs, I would bring some standard things with me every time, and 95% of the time it was the perfect items for every job. The 56-quart larger were always my go-to if I was working on a garage or storage shed. The 16-quart that were the smaller, the open bins, and shoe boxes were the go-to for every other space. Shoe boxes are probably my favorite item for universal organizing. I do always recommend getting a brand that is a little bit higher quality than what you get at the Dollar Tree. I've never found the lids that come with the Dollar Tree boxes, or basically any of the dollar store boxes, the lids don't hold up any type of weight at all, and they break, and they go for the higher quality. Sterilite is a great brand, and they're usually very affordable. The other thing I like about the shoe boxes, though, is they fit inside of the 56-quart boxes, meaning you can break down categories in a larger box and not lose anything. But these work so well for craft areas, for bathrooms, in kitchens. There really isn't an area where these shoe boxes will not work. So if you're breaking down lots of smaller things in a space, consider getting some shoe boxes. They will absolutely help. And the great thing too is on a shelf, depending upon the depth, you can either have them the narrow way, taking up all of that depth, or if you have a really shallow bookcase or linen closet like I do, you can put them sideways so the wider area is taking up the shelf space, but it's still broken down, easy to identify, and getting to see inside really saves a lot of time when you're looking for something. Now, one of my favorite organizing supplies are storage bags. Yes, the kind that you get for your food. Because they come in such different sizes, 2.5 gallons is a huge bag. I think it's almost 18 inches by 18 inches. I use that when I'm using my scrapbook supplies or I'm doing larger projects and I want to just separate them out. But the gallon size is perfect for breaking down things like crafting supplies. I had shown a while back that I have one box for all of my miscellaneous items. One box, it's easy to grab, and once I find a different category, I can break them down inside of these gallon-sized bags, and I'm able to file through and find what I need. So all I do is, with my bag, I bring out one file folder or piece of cardstock, and I cut it down so that it fits inside of the bag. Once it's cut down, I can then go ahead and slip it inside so it stands up inside of my box, and I'll just write what's on top of it. I can flip it over and use the other side once I've used that supply, but this allows me to keep all of those random things in a box so I can easily find it by just filing through, and I have one just called This and That for those really random things that I just can't figure out how to categorize. But this would work great for so many different things. So if you've got scraps of paper, fabric, notions, things in the bathroom that you just have lots of Band-Aids or medicines, using this type of system will allow you to very affordably break them down, find them, and just have them in one container. Now, since we're talking about bags, you know I love the vacuum storage bags. These work so well. I did a video on the proper ways to use them, but you can get so much that is taking up a space and shrink it down to next to nothing. And once it's shrunk down, why not use that storage space under a bed, a couch, a chair, slide it underneath, and that way it's out of sight and not taking up that real estate out of a cabinet. And since we're talking about underbed storage, I do love the underbed storage containers because this can also be used for so many different things besides just clothes. Think about that memorabilia, paperwork, great storage, go ahead and use that space. For clothing, I still go back to these locker bins again to fold clothes and store them in. Any type of the open baskets will work. I especially like the fabric bins because you can fold things, stand them upright, and have easy access to so much. So if you're short on space, get some of these fabric bins. Let me know if you'd like a tutorial on ways to fold clothes to maximize your storage space, but keeping these bins up top will allow you to get those out of season clothes out of your main area, but still have access to them up top. An honorable mention that I absolutely love are these banker boxes. I love them because they're the perfect size, they're easy to manage, they're super durable so they can hold a lot of weight. I love that they have a lid, they're easy to carry, but if you don't want to buy them and assemble them, any office supply that sells reams of paper gets these by the case. It's the same box, and they usually break them down and get rid of them. So check with your local office supply store, see if they have these boxes before they're ripped down, and utilize them. Covering them with anything that you want, whether it's contact paper, wrapping paper, decoupage, painting them, you can really benefit from the storage of these, and even if you do buy them new, they're not very expensive. My second honorable mention are these little drawer organizers from the Dollar Tree. I've talked about these before. They are the exact same quality as the Rubbermaid boxes that go into drawers, except instead of being $4 to $7 a piece, they are $1.25 now. Great quality. I've used these in kitchens for silverware, for utensils, for teas, for coffees, for those small little things. But I've also used them in craft rooms, offices, bathrooms for makeup and different toiletry items. These are a great item. Also, think about if you're breaking down your supplies likes with likes, but you have smaller categories inside, you can stack these inside of something like those shoe boxes or those 16-quart containers and have everything neatly broken down and organized. So those little boxes are great for just subdividing a little bit more when you're breaking down your categories. I'm always excited to talk about containers because I really do think when you're organizing, these tend to be one of the best tools out there, no matter what type of organizing style you are, whether you like seeing things, not seeing things, having things micro-organized, or just a high level of organization. One of these containers should fit your needs. They're also great because you can see inside of them, but if you don't like seeing inside, you can line the inside of these plastic bins, because they are affordable, with any type of fabric or wrapping paper, or spray paint them. I have spray painted these containers before, so have some of my clients, and they look amazing, which means that you can really customize these to match the decor in your space. So get creative with these. You know I love adding handles to things. I did a whole video on how to upscale the look of your plastic containers. I'll have that down in the description below if you want to check that out. But use these tools to help you get organized. Just make sure you know what you need before you get started. Thank you so much for watching today. Leave me a comment, let me know which of these you liked the most, or what other containers you find to be super useful in your space. A huge thanks to my patrons. I could not make these videos without their support, as well as yours for liking, commenting, subscribing, and watching me. I will see you guys in just a few days. Bye.